Hey everybody, welcome back to Shock and Schlock. I'm your host, Herschel Gillis. Wake up, wake up, wake up. I'm talking to you directly. Please wake up. Anyway, today is day 26 on day 28 of 31 Days of Horror. Reviews, going to be doing a chill, laid back review for this one because I'm doing two reviews today. And the second one is one that I want to talk about more, so we're just going to do a quick one for Franco Stefanino's 1988 slasher sleaze fest, The Undertaker, starring, of course, Joe Spinell. Now, what is The Undertaker? The plot is not going to take a lot to talk about. It's about this man who's an Undertaker who kills people and uses them for his sexual pleasure and talks to them like they're alive and are his friends. But yeah, and we're mostly told this through his nephew, um, who is our real protagonist of the story, trying to, he's afraid of his uncle, but he also wants to put an end to things. So yeah, not a whole lot to talk about plot wise. Super simple one. This one is. It's very much a Maniac type film, mainly because of Joe Spinell's like very over the top and sleazy, some would say sticky, ghastly performance as a sweaty, uncomfortable, gross looking Undertaker who kills people, uses them for his sexual pleasure, and then speaks to them like they're related to him. And yeah, a la Norman Bates. Um, Very much a film that doesn't do a whole lot original, but the things that it does pretty well. Um, Joe Spinell is exceptional in this. He always is whenever he plays a sleazy killer guy, like in Maniac, which is a significantly better movie, but we'll get into that. Um, and yeah, definitely the standout of the movie. It's the reason the movie works as well as it does. This movie is not a great film by any chance, but we'll talk about that as well. But things that I'll highlight Joe Spinell as a character in this. He's very greasy looking. He goes all in as well. The kills make sense for his character because he's very grimy and nasty, and he feels like this like slime ball. Like even if he wasn't a killer, you wouldn't want to know this guy, but he is a killer, and um, yeah. And something I appreciate about the film as well is that Joe Spinell really is the focal point for the majority of this, instead of being like sort of a background or like a looming threat. He is shown like a lot for the majority of the movie. So we do get to spend a lot of time with him and see his character. And while the character is not super deep, it is interesting to watch like his interactions with the dead bodies of people that he killed, um, versus his like day to day life, in this funeral home. Sort of like I said, Norman Bates a lot in a lot of ways there. But yeah, the cast in this overall as well, waving away from Joe Spinell, do a decent job. I really like the performance from the nephew as well. I think he's very believable as this, scared kid, who also wants to do right. I just, yeah, like both of them. Music in this is fine. Nothing really to write home about. It fits tonally with the scenes, but there's not going to be anything that's stuck in your head for a while. This is not a movie that like you're ever really going to think about the soundtrack as a standout. It just is kind of there, and a lot of the film kind of feels like that. The cinematography is like unexceptional. Not a whole lot of unique shots or anything. Just kind of bare bones, meat and potatoes. You know, not super great, but it's not bad. So, um, I kind of feel like that describes most of this film, actually. Meat and potatoes, not bad, not great. Because there are drawbacks. I really like Joe Spinell's performance. I like the kills in this, they're really nasty. There's one where Joe Spinell's character kills somebody by like putting their head in a frying pan. Um, that's on, and then he assaults them as they're dying, which is really rough. Stuff like that work really well. But something that doesn't work well is that the film is paced not great. I won't say horribly, but there are some major issues that I have with this film in that regard. My overarching point here is that the scenes that are good in this, like the kills and when we're seeing Joe Spinell interact with bodies and stuff, don't feel as long as they should be. You're left wanting more of that, and you're left wanting much less of the other stuff because there's a lot of filler content in this. There's almost an entire subplot about this woman teaching a class on like anthropology, but specifically she's going like over a area of discussion about necrophilia, which number one is not played for laughs, yet it's incredibly goofy because who the fuck? It would never be like that. I took anthropology classes in college. You will never hear about that. Maybe in passing one time if you're going over something even remotely related. Which he's doing entire courses over this, and she thinks it's an important part of the part. It's just very stupid. And not in a fun way. It just feels very out of place. And there are several driving sequences in this that really serve no point to the plot, and they just kind of go on forever. And the parts where Joe Spinell is sort of alone in this funeral home, or not alone, but, working as his job, like as the Undertaker, while they're interesting initially, the scenes do go on too long. Like, we get it. He's an Undertaker. It's cool to think about, but, this concept of, like, what happens after we die and the Undertaker's there and they're doing all this stuff is done better in other films than maybe that came after, like Nacho Cerida's Aftermath. I thought that was really good. But, yeah, it's rough. This is a film that could have done with a much better edit. That's my major issue with it. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and that's primarily because of that. And I also don't think it's super original, but kills and everything are good enough to warrant a watch for sure. It's on Tubi. Also has a Vinegar Syndrome Blu-ray release. I believe it's still in print if you want to buy it that way. I would encourage you to watch it on Tubi first if you're like me. Yeah. Not super thrilled about it, but it's a good enough movie that I can definitely recommend it, especially if you're a Joe Spinell fan or a fan of something like Maniac in particular. But yeah, anyway, that wraps up day 26 of the 31 Days of Horror Reviews. As always, I've been your host, Charles Gillis, signing off for now. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Keep your notifications on. And as always, zero thoughts, zero ratings, zero brain cells, and zero planning. I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.